In this video, I'm going to do a little bit of rotoscoping on the finger to put it back over top of the screen for the first, looks like about 11 frames that I need to work on here. And then I guess later on in the shot from frame 42 to almost to the end. So we've got, 40 frames to deal with there, and we've got 15. I'm just going to go ahead and take a look at the initial frames in the beginning of this. So I'm going to park myself on frame 5 here. I'm going to go ahead and make another Roto Paint node. In this Roto Paint node, while I'm drawing on it, I want to be viewing the original shot. So actually I'll go to this frame here and I'll just quickly draw a shape around the finger. I want to keep this shape fairly simple. This all happens really fast, so I can use some feathering of the mask in order to make this blend in fairly well. I want to make sure that I'm at the part of the finger where the finger's still solid before it starts to motion blur, right around here. Okay, and I do want to just feather this slightly, so maybe 4 pixels. If I take a look at that Roto Paint node, you can see that it's got a slight feather on it, so maybe I even want a little bit more than that, like 10. This will depend on the frame that we're sitting on. Let's just leave it at 4 for now and see what the results are like. I'm gonna go back to viewing the actual footage, and I'm just gonna go deal with the frames forward here. So there's frame number 8. Correct this, frame number 9 starts to come off a little bit. Keep in mind, I'm only really worried about the area of the finger that's over the screen because I won't see the shape back here. So it's just this part that I'm actually concerned with. Forward 1 more frame. Finger's actually almost off here. But the finger is rotating, so I might as well rotate that whole shape just to keep everything going in the right direction. Something like this. And then 1 more frame. And just make sure that I bring this right off the screen, like this roto shape right off the screen. And I could actually have this shape end here. So I could have it start to frame. So from the beginning till frame 11 is how long this shape is going to last. So if I look at my Roto Paint node here, see it goes from there and then the Roto Paint node disappears at frame 11. Because we don't need it after that because the finger is off the screen. So let's go ahead and go back to frame 6 because I know that was frame that I haven't yet corrected for. You need to make sure that you have your entire shape selected. Give myself a little bit more screen real estate for this. Rotating the shape. I can even scale this down a little bit. Pretty good. Go back a frame. Move this up. Rotate it a bit more. Something like that. Just a few more frames left here. So this is something that you can do fairly quickly because you're not going to see the variations in the keyframes on a frame by frame basis. So if I now wanted to just give this a quick test, I'm going to create a merge node and I'll just merge this with the relative corner pin node down here, and I'm going to change the operation to plus. What that's going to do, if we look at that node and push F, it's just going to combine those 2 roto shapes. The one that I drew for the hand and then the one I drew for the finger, they're both in one shape. And all I have to do is just connect that up here with the rest of the node tree because now that just will add to the rotoscoping that I was doing. And let's take a look at the final. You can see we do need to blur this a little bit more. This gives us a good starting point. If I just mark an out here after frame, say frame 20, mark an out, and then mark an in at the beginning, just do a quick preview of this. Like I was saying, you can't really, unless you stop on a frame, you don't really see that my rotoscoping isn't necessarily perfect. If I wanted to add a little bit of motion blur to this roto shape node, I could go back to the Roto Paint node here, and I could go to motion blur and then put some global settings on this and adjust the motion blur to say 2 and increase the shutter speed, get a little bit more blur on this depending on how much it moves. And I could also go to the shape and maybe add a little bit more feather is going to be a good thing to do for this particular section of the Roto. Oh, I'm on the wrong Roto Paint node. Go to this Roto Paint node, select it, put on some global motion blur, and then take a look at the shape itself, add a little bit more feather. Well, maybe not that much. See, I'm getting a lot of motion blur there. Maybe that was too much motion blur. Back to 1 here. Maybe 0.5 is good. Let's take a look at that now as the final result. If I push Q, I can turn off the overlay for this. And then now you can see I'm getting a bit of motion blur on that. That's obviously a lot more realistic than without the motion blur on that Roto Paint node. That's it for this video.